Pregnancy Discrimination Act of 1978, which is part of gender discrimination. What is gender discrimination? Gender discrimination is based on gender or sex and is a common civil rights violation that can come in many forms, including sexual harassment, pregnancy discrimination, and unequal pay for women who do the same job as men. Unfortunately, U.S. women are too familiar with these inequalities. Also, part of gender discrimination is protected classes. Protected classes are a group of people with a common characteristics who are legally protected from employment discrimination on the basis that characteristic holds. So examples of protected classes would be race, gender, age, a disability, or sexual orientation. The purpose of the Pregnancy Act law of 1978 is it prohibits employers from discriminating against women for being pregnant. In the United States, we prohibit discrimination if you are pregnant, having childbirth, or medical conditions which are related to your pregnancy, such as doctor's appointments, illnesses that you are facing, or other medical conditions that require time off. Employers are not allowed to refuse or to hire qualified candidates based on pregnancy status. So if you are pregnant, you are not to be denied a position just because you are pregnant. You are not to be given less hours because you are pregnant, and you are also not to be denied a promotion because you are pregnant. This law protects employers from doing so and halts them from affecting your career status. About the law. Pregnancy discrimination was enacted in 1978. It is an amendment of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. It is also a federal law. Federal laws prohibit workplace discrimination and are enforced by the EEOC. These are passed by Congress and signed by the President. This is also a state law as well. In the state of Michigan, we are a no discrimination and harassment-free workplace state. This law can be enforced by the EEOC, which is the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, and they are allowed to enforce the law if one is treated unfairly, meaning that they are not given the proper hours, the proper pay, or they are unable to seek a new title within the company, meaning a promotion or a status change. Compliance standard. Employers must follow all the guidelines that have been put in place from the EEOC. The EEOC requires all occurrences to be documented and reported. This ensures that they have a written copy of each discrimination case. Record keepings are required to be kept from 1 to 2 years from the occurrence date in which the discrimination case happened. Non-compliance with the EEO standards would result in the organization to face heavy fines and be sued. Collecting record data is what the EEOC should be doing regularly, and if your organization does not get your guys' data collected from the EEOC, they are not staying up on the regulations that they should be. But staying up to date on the current regulations that have been set forth from the EEOC is key in order to avoid all fees and fines that come along with not following the guidelines. EEOC accommodations. The first accommodation is modifying workplace policies. This would include needing to leave work for more than one lunch break, or needing just some extra time to kick your feet off and get off the floor. This will just give you time to relax so you can still continue to do your job the rest of the day. The second accommodation is modifying schedule and hours if needed. The key part here is if needed. If the workplace modifies your schedule and hours because you are pregnant without your say, that is considered discrimination. They are discriminating against you because you are a female and they do not think you can perform the job properly. But if you have asked to receive a different schedule and hours, then that is not discrimination since you have asked for it. The third accommodation of EEOC would be giving additional leave, which is FMLA. So FMLA stands for Family Medical Leave Act. And in the state of Michigan, workers can take FMLA Act if they have worked for the company for a year. Michigan workers, they must have worked 1,250 hours over the last year. And they get 2 occurrences every 2 weeks. So they get 2 days off every 2 weeks. And that is extra time that they can attend doctor's appointments. If they are feeling sick, that they can't come into work that day, then they are given those days off. The fourth accommodation is reassigning of jobs and tasks. So if your doctor has restricted you from lifting heavy boxes or bending over or being on your feet, this is when your company needs to reassign you a different job within the company. If they decide to completely fire you and get rid of you from the company, then that is discrimination because you're pregnant and you cannot perform your job. Simply, you are just asking to do a different part of your job so you can keep your job and you would like to work. So they can give you more of like an office style job where you are sitting at a desk, typing to various employers or companies, or if you are working more of a manufacturing style job, they can sit you down and have you organize parts or so on. ADA protection for pregnant employees. ADA is American Disabilities Act, and pregnancy is not a disability under the ADA. Some medical impairments that may come from being pregnant may qualify under the ADA. So if you are unable to do something within your job, you may be required or able to get ADA benefits. And that is about the only way that pregnant employees can qualify as having a disability. Pregnancy discrimination case 1. This case was a case I found on Google, and it was written by Fox 5 of San Diego. A woman that works at Ralph's Grocery Co. Had asked to receive some time off to accommodate her pregnancy. She was facing some pain, some medical issues, and had extra doctor's appointments. The local grocery store told her that she was not allowed to have that time off, and she was forced to quit. So they violated the Civil Rights Act of 1964. They faced several lawsuits and charges, and they agreed to pay a $30,000 fee to settle the discrimination lawsuit. The second pregnancy discrimination case I found was a woman who put in leave of her job as a certified nursing assistant. She provided care and services to residents that lived within the home, and she was put on limits by her doctor, and they said that she was unable to complete the job that she currently had. She was taken off the work schedule due to her leave that she put in, which forced her to find work somewhere else. While she was pregnant, she also had already had other children, which she received time off for, no problem. But with her third child, she was told that she was no longer allowed to have time off. In order to fend for her family and pay bills, it forced her to sell her Dodge Magnum, and it kept her from qualifying for mortgage and prevented her from putting together her nursery and paying bills for her family. Her grocery bill she had to cut down, and she could only buy so many snacks and meals a night since she didn't have the money from her job. She was given restrictions and limitations and kept losing her job and was forced to find several other jobs. And all she was doing was trying to pay for her family and pay bills, and she kept losing her job due to her pregnancy. So multiple different workplaces were faced with EEOC charges, and they violated the Civil Rights Act. Recommendations. Some recommendations that I found on the web and some I implemented myself was: number 1, stay educated on EEOC guidelines on discrimination. One thing I found was online was to attend trainings regularly for your state and for your country. Keep employees at the company up to speed with PDA trainings. Keep them informed of the forms of discrimination that are out there and ways to avoid it. Report PDA or sex discrimination cases to HR immediately. So the sooner that we can get these cases on hand, the sooner they and more likely they are to get resolved. Report EOC to a company if they are failing to recognize the issue. So report any incidents of discrimination, whether it be pregnancy discrimination or other forms of discrimination, gender, age, etc. Get the company involved in Project WHEN. WHEN stands for Workplace Harassment Ends Now, and this is a program that is offered nationally and helps workplaces end harassment sooner and puts them through a training on how to prevent harassment and avoid getting in fishy situations that harassment would be involved in. Here are my references. References continued.